Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Happy 4th of July weekend. Hopefully everyone got to spend time with their family. Obviously, with this whole COVID situation, there's a lot to factor in, but hopefully you got to spend some time with your family, whether it's barbecuing, hanging out by the pool, going to the beach, just relaxing. I'm not going to lie to you. I had some White Claws, huge White Claw supporter, and I got the new variety pack, the lemon. The thing is so tasteful. I got a mini fridge right next to my desk over there. It's full. I just flat out love the White Claws, and it's my go-to. I'm not going to hide it from anyone, and you're missing out if you're not going to get yourself these White Claws. I love the original variety packs. These people here, they only drink this, and these people here, they only drink that. No. Variety packs of White Claws. You grab whatever's in front of you, and you drink it, whether it's tangerine, ruby, grapefruit, mango, lime, you name it, lemon, of course. Grab a damn White Claw, enjoy it. Mwah! I tell you what. Whenever there's an excuse to day drink and have yourself some White Claws, you do it. You flat out do it. Better than Truly's, better than Bud Light seltzers, you name it. You name another seltzer, the High Moons, no. The White Claws. But anyway, let's get into some basketball. I want to talk more basketball because Brett Brown said something when he spoke to the media, and it stood out to people. And I actually did mention it a podcast or two ago. He pretty much said, look, when it comes to young players, it's hard for me to trust them when it comes to the playoffs. And the Brett Brown haters came out, what the hell are you talking about, Brett? What are you talking about? That's what the Brett Brown hater said. And I think that's silly. I think that that's ridiculous to get on Brett Brown for saying something that's true. It's true. Now, that's not to say that a specific player who is younger can't shock people. But when you play your percentages, yeah, guess what? Older players are more effective in the NBA during playoff basketball, because playoff basketball is completely different than regular season ball. And I'm not talking about your Ben Simmons or your Joel Embiids or players that are more star-driven, right? No, this the star power type players. If they're in their young 20s, we're not talking about them. When Brett was speaking about young players, it's not about the generational type players that are in the league that are younger. He's worried about playing the Matisse Thybulles, the Furkan Korkmazes, those type of players, the role players, the players coming off the bench, the Shake Miltons. What is Shake Milton? He isn't a player who has had a ton of games yet in this league. Those are the type of players he was talking about, and he's not wrong. Just because you don't like a coach, you can still separate right from wrong. A lot of the people that despise Brett Brown will never admit that he's ever right. I hated Gabe Kapler. I despised Gabe Kapler. That doesn't mean everything he did was so wrong. Sometimes there's people out there who I don't like what they do in their job when it comes to sports, whether it's a head coach or a general manager, but it doesn't mean every single damn move is so pathetic. And with Brett Brown, people are so brainwashed to hating him that everything he says or does is just automatically the wrong decision or the wrong words. And I flat out do not agree with that logic whatsoever. And like I stated, I hated Gabe Kapler. So it's not just Brett Brown. And I've been on the record for a while now going, I'm not even a Brett Brown lover. I don't love Brett Brown. I just don't hate him. So then the haters view me as some guy that loves him. I don't love Brett Brown. But those same people who hate Brett Brown claim that Greg Popovich is, the ultimate god head coach. Well, there's a reason why Brett Brown was on his staff for so long, right? If you praise Greg Popovich for being one of the best coaches ever, which he's a great coach, no doubt about it. He's a smart basketball mind. Why would he have some nobody, stupid coach, as these haters claim, in Brett Brown if he didn't know something about basketball? Before we dive more into this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and they set the standard for clean energy. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. We are talking about $0 electric bills. That is not all. Water purification systems, clean, healthy water for your family, new roofs, backup energy services, battery storage, tree removals, and more. Did I say tree removals already? I don't even remember. No, I said new roofs. They do so much. I can't even remember it all. Look at this. They just do so much. So if you are looking to add to your home, to upgrade your home, make sure you check out Orbit Energy and Power. Their information is in my description. All right, so more on this quote. This is the quote. I always get nervous about relying on young guys for the NBA playoffs. Shake is no different. He did speak about Shake Milton, and this is why the quote even came up, because we don't know what Shake Milton is. Is it even fair to assume that this dude's just going to walk in and be what he was towards the end of the year? I don't think it is. I don't think it's fair to just assume he's going to drop 30-plus in the postseason because he did that against the LA Clippers in a regular season game. I'm actually super intrigued by Shake Milton. When you watch him play, it's like, damn, okay. For example, when I watch Shake Milton play, and when he scores a ton of buckets, right, and he's out there as the primary ball handler, he's dribbling, he's making moves, I look at him and go, that guy has that look that he can legitimately play in this league. When I watch someone like Furkan Korkmaz, I go, okay, yeah, he might have scored 28 points that night, but the dude's a stiff when it comes to defense, and I think he's going to get absolutely abused, and I don't know how far his NBA career can really go based off the fact that, you know, he's an absolute liability when it comes to one side of the basketball floor. But if Shake Milton scores 28 points, and he looks different out there, and he's got a great vibe to his game, and he's athletic, and he goes to the rim hard, and he needs to work on the defensive side, no doubt about it. But he's got that ability, and it's like that Jamal Crawford type game. And I think that that's something that he can totally do in this league. You look at some players, and it's like, he might have scored the same amount of points as Shake Milton, but it looks different. The versatility and the way that he scored. But once again, can we actually count on that to be a long-term thing just because he did it for a couple games? I really hope so. But the NBA playoffs, it's not the same as, say, the regular season. Here's where it can help, though. What's going on this whole year? Well, this whole year is a dumpster fire, but in terms of maybe it being a little easier for someone like Shake Milton. Victor Oladipo, out. Not playing. So it might be easier because maybe the competition drops a bit. So for the postseason, things are a little bit different. But that's only if players continue to sit out. But going back to the quote, I always get nervous about relying on young guys for the NBA playoffs. Shake is no different. No disrespect to Shake. It's just my 20-year history in the league. And then he goes on to say he's excited for what Shake Milton might be able to bring to the table when it comes to the postseason ball. What he said is fair. It's justifiable. The guy has been in the league forever. Young guys, they're hard to rely on because guess what? It's a grown man's league. That doesn't mean a young player can't have a game. That doesn't mean a young player can't have a moment. But statistically, it's normally the older veteran type players that are able to really embrace that moment more. He's not lying. He's not lying. You might not like Brett Brown, but he's not lying to you when it comes to young players in the NBA playoffs. I'm just as excited for Matisse Thybulle as anybody else when it comes to his career here in Philadelphia based off of what he can do defensively. But there were so many times, foul trouble, being super aggressive, hurting the team at times. Now, let's flip it around. There were times when he helped the team and he would get steals and it would lead to fast break points. But there were also times where he got abused based off of being a rookie and being young. Now let's factor in film. Now let's factor in the fact that he's going up against veteran players in the postseason. And teams are going to see after one or two games, okay, this is what Matisse Thybulle does. This is his tendencies. And they are going to, smart players in this league, will realize, okay, when I do this, Matisse is going to react this way. And when he reacts this way, I'll be able to get a foul called on him. And then Matisse Thybulle is going to have to learn how to adjust. Like, I'm not knocking Matisse Thybulle, but to act as if he's not going to have a ton of learning experience throughout a playoff series, well, that's naive. And then also factor in that Brett Brown is essentially coaching for his job. So if you are a coach, coaching for your job, or at least having that mentality to coach for your job, are you going to throw in these rookies that are going to need growing pains? They're going to need a ton of experience to really learn themselves in this league in big-time moments. If I'm coaching for my job, I'd rather have veterans out there. Whether it's someone like Alec Burks, who's 28 years old, who can create his own shot, or other players. Like, I think Matisse Thybulle is going to get run, no doubt. It's based off of matchups. In the half-court set, though, he might struggle shooting the ball, and that might hurt this team. Not help it, hurt. With a squad that already has a bad spacing problem. It's just a lot to factor in when it comes to these young players. Furkan's going to get an opportunity because this team just doesn't have anyone who can really stretch the floor. And he shot 40% from three this year, which is great, right? No doubt about it, it's great. But when that half-court set comes, and when you talk about other teams, and then you talk about it, get a pick, get your mismatch, and bang, exploit him over and over and over again. The only time he's going to be able to really be out there is if he's actually hitting his shots. The problem is he really only hit his shots when he was at the Wells Fargo Center. I just look at this team, and I look at that quote, and I look at the age of these players that are in that role player atmosphere, and it's just going to be different every single night. It's going to be like a big rotation when it comes to this bench. One night you might get this guy. The next night you might get this guy. The following night you might get this guy, just based off of who's playing well that night or what team they're even playing against to get a good matchup for someone. But when you look at a guy like, for example, Mike Scott, those are the type of players where, see, this year he had a really bad year. The first 44 games, 5.6 points per game and 33% from three. A bad Mike Scott. The last 19 games, he shot 43% from three, and you could really rely on him. The problem is you don't know what Mike Scott you're going to get, and it was a really sloppy first 44 games for him. It was abysmal, no doubt about it. But Mike Scott is a type of player who is experienced and has been in playoff games and understands the level of intensity, physicality, the mental side of the game when it comes to the postseason. So, like, those are the type of guys that when it comes to playoff basketball, you would rather rely on coming off the bench in a postseason game. Tell me where that is ridiculous logic. You'd rather have a veteran player than a young rookie player in an NBA playoff game. Oh, hold on. Sorry. If you asked all the coaches that these people who hate Brett Brown love, the Greg Popoviches, the Eric Spoelstras, the Brad Stevens, I bet you they'd rather have someone with a little bit more experience under their belt than a rookie. That's not to say rookies can't have a game or rookies are going to be flat out disgraceful in playoff moments. That's not what I'm saying. But let's use numbers here. If that is 5% of the time, okay, that's not to say it can't happen. But what's the other percent? And I don't know what Mike Scott's going to be. Matisse Thybulle could be better than Mike Scott. I don't know. But going into it, I don't think that it's bad. First off, two different positions. The problem is in that two area, it's going to be a little young with Matisse. With, who else am I thinking of? Furkan Korkmaz. And Shake Milton's also in the mix, and he'll probably be the one at times. And with Josh Richardson, see, I'm out on Josh Richardson when it comes to him being primary ball handler. I don't think he's a bad ball handler. I don't think he's good either, though. I'd rather rock and roll with someone like Shake Milton over Josh Richardson just because I've seen Josh Richardson with the rock in his hands, and it's not enough for me. It doesn't pop enough for me. So if Shake Milton, let's clarify this, if Shake Milton can play the way that he did at the end of all of this happening and the stoppage of the season, yes, I would rather have Shake Milton than Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson's a little bit more experienced, but I don't really like him as primary ball handler. If Shake Milton is what he was at the end, I want him as ball handler. If not, well, that's when things get a little iffy. That's where you really got to go, all right, who is going to be our primary ball handler? What do we do from there? Is Josh Richardson really the only answer when it comes to having the ball in his hands like that? Does Tobias Harris get a little bit more ball in his hands at times? Because there's times where he brings the ball up and he's the guy that's maybe running a play. Like, there's times where Toby is that guy. How will you then utilize this team? Because it's not going to be Matisse. It's not going to be Furkan. It's not going to be anyone else coming off the bench. Alec Burks can have the ball in his hands, but he's not going to have those type of minutes. So, yeah, it would have to be Josh Richardson. I just really don't love that as a solution. So I'm really praying that the guy is Shake Milton, because I don't really like the alternatives other than Ben Simmons. But bringing that up, this is Brett Brown on Shake. Shake put his hand up in a pretty definitive way when talking about who will run the team when Simmons is on the bench. And I think that, first off, that's very limited minutes, because when we're talking about postseason ball, if Ben's playing 40, well, that's 8 minutes. And don't get me wrong, those 8 minutes are important, but all right, Brett is saying, like, look, he definitively put his hand up when it came to that. So to me, it's like Shake he doesn't have the job secured, but he has the opportunity secured. If he plays well enough, that the job is his. It's his job to lose, essentially. So this 3-week run and these exhibition games and then those 8 games they're going to play, which are technically the regular season games, yeah, they're going to matter for Shake Milton, and he better be able to ball out. Brett will look to grow Ben as an off-the-ball player. That was also discussed, and I thought there were tremendous things to see out of Ben Simmons when it actually came to being off the ball. I think there's value in Ben being off the ball. I also like him with the ball. I think he is a phenomenal facilitator. So when you are a phenomenal facilitator, you need the ball in your hands. That can also be utilized with the ball off your hands, rolling to the basket. As you roll to the basket, you can still facilitate, whether it's to the corner, whether it's a little drop off maybe to Embiid or something. I mean, there's ways to roll to the basket and still facilitate, no doubt about it. I'm okay with utilizing Ben Simmons off the ball as well as on the ball. I think that is fair. The Ben Simmons isn't a point guard crowd. I mean, look, you're talking about a dude whose best attribute is his playmaking ability. What do you do when you have the ball in your hands? You play make. I like him rolling to the basket. It's phenomenal. But I like both. I'm not completely taking the ball out of his hands. He's so unique. First off, basketball these days, it's a positionless sport. It really is. Either on the ball or off the ball. It's just matchup based at this point. The game's not the same as it once was when it came to these traditional positions. That's what happens over time with these sports. They transition, they add, they change, they grow. And you're seeing that with basketball right now. And Ben Simmons is something else. But I'm sorry, I'm not taking the ball out of his hands full time. I like adding to his game. I think he had monster games. But will him playing off the ball against a Toronto Raptors team rolling to the basket be the same as Game 52 in the regular season against Phoenix Suns? People forget how much different the game is when it comes to playoff ball. And realistically, in this scenario, I don't think anybody knows what to expect. No crowd, in a bubble. Some teams have players playing, some teams won't have players playing, whether they opted out because they did not feel comfortable or because they test positive for COVID-19. So this year, it's so all up in the air. It's not the same as the traditional playoffs. But when watching regular season basketball, a lot of people get sucked in thinking this is what basketball is. And I hate to break it to you, it's not. It's not. And if you've been watching the NBA for a long time, and if you study these NBA playoff runs consistently year after year, it's obvious. And there's a common theme, too. But sometimes people get so sucked in. It's crazy. It really is. It's absolutely crazy. Another thing I want to touch on when it comes to these young players. Glenn Robinson III, 26 years old. I wouldn't say he's young. I don't know if I can put him in like the veteran category, but I just can't stand him. I can't stand him. I hated his philosophy coming into this. He'd rather get paid, be on a bad team, score a lot of points than actually be a good team role player. At least that's how it was before this all happened. Maybe Tobias Harris, who's been one hell of a leader, actually talked some sense into the guy. But what he was before this all happened, he was a joke. Oh, I don't know my role, this and that. Dude, you know your role. You're a role player, right? I mean, he's such a sick joke when he made that statement. And oh, by the way, him shooting brutal from three when having wide open shots, that's on him. He was awful. He went from 40% from three to 28% from three when he came to Philadelphia. And a lot of people are going to sit here and go, well, look at this scheme and Brett Brown. No. Go back and watch this dude. He literally missed wide open looks and wide open looks and wide open looks, and it was on him on why it was so miserable. I just expected more out of him. And the thing is, when I talked about Matisse, you know you're getting great defense. You don't really know what you're getting from offense. With Furkan, you're getting great offense, but you're getting, look at me saying great offense. You're getting a great three-point shooter this year. Let's go with that, right? I had to backtrack a little bit because we all know I don't like Furkan Korkmaz that much. But this year, put my hands up and I tip my cap, although I'm rocking the bandana today. Yes, great offense out of him from the three-point range this year. Disgustingly brutal defensively. With Glenn Robinson III, that was supposed to be your mix guy who can give you offense and can give you versatility on defense. He can literally give you both. So, when Matisse limits you or Furkan limits you, here's Glenn Robinson III who should be able to knock down his shots from three. And on top of that, he should be able to hold his own defensively. And he wasn't that here. And I don't think he was mentally clocked in for that. He was the UFA. He was playing well on a really terrible Golden State Warriors team. He wanted to get paid. And by all means, you're allowed to want your money. But when this happens, don't be this bad teammate. I really hope things change for this backstretch here. But the one thing that Brett Brown does do, which is really good, is relate to his players. He's a player's coach. A lot of the league, a lot of coaches in general in sports, it's all about being a player's coach. Doug Peterson. Oh, by the way, this city loves him. Player's coach. Brett Brown is a player's coach. And the things that he does with this locker room is, it's very unique. And there's times where players have to stand up in front of their teammates and give a speech and tell them about something in their life that maybe their teammates wouldn't know about. And that's how they kind of keep everything going. When it comes to this COVID-19, I do think from Tobias Harris to the leadership of this team to Brett Brown, he has kept this team as focused as possible during a pandemic in this world. And that's a good trait of Brett Brown. There might be times where I question an X and O thing here and there and maybe a timeout, right? That's always a big knock on him. But he does relate to players. He does communicate with the players and have a good relationship with his players. That is just a flat-out fact. And when you look at what's going on with this pandemic, the way that they're speaking right now and the way that they're coming about this refresh and the way that they've been on track and staying with one another throughout this time, that's one of his strong suits. So hopefully that relates to something. I don't know if that will relate to anything because we're playing in Orlando without anybody there, no fans, NBA playoffs, taking 3 months off. I mean, this world is just so crazy that I don't know if that really relates to anything, but it definitely didn't hurt. What Brett Brown did with this team throughout this time definitely did not hurt this team. So, that is one of the things that he does well. Hopefully that relates to something once they all get back. But yeah, I mentioned Victor Oladipo when it comes to the Indiana Pacers. That's a huge low blow for that team, really. I mean, he's definitely a fantastic player. For him not to be there, and you might see other players go through something like that. You might see other teams lose the guys. Landry Shamet, I believe, is another player. He didn't opt out. He tested positive, so he didn't fly to the team to Orlando. I think that is exactly what went down with Landry Shamet. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was it. So, there's players where they're not with their squads right now. So all around, who knows? Who knows how this is going to play out? But the moral of the story is the overreaction to Brett Brown saying he doesn't trust younger players that much. It's like a true statement when it comes to this league. When it comes to playoff basketball, I think veterans are very valuable, experienced players with playoff experience. That does not mean that Brett Brown is saying that he won't play young players. You will see Shake Milton, you will see Matisse Thybulle, you will see Furkan Korkmaz, you will see young players. He just normally doesn't trust them that much because, well, you want guys who understand the difference. You want guys where in bigger moments, they've been there before. It's not flawed logic at all. Actually, decent logic. It's decent logic. I can't get over that Joel Embiid comment, though. That Joel Embiid comment. Best shape he's seen. That's not a knock on Brett for saying it. I just can't stand the whole conversation about what shape Joel Embiid is in. Speaking of the big men, Al Horford spoke to the media. Who else spoke to the media last? Was it Matisse Thybulle? Matisse Thybulle was in there as well. There's been some videos of Matisse. He got a new hairdo, actually. I think he was taking some jump shots. He's got the blonde tips in one area. Kind of looks good, not going to lie. It's good swag. I don't think I can pull that off, though. That's why I'm rocking the bandana right now. So there you have it. There's some 76ers talk. It's been a lot of 76ers talk lately, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not mad about it at all. It's July. It's July, and we all know at the end of July, we are supposed to see a heavy run of sports. And that's why in my new house, I got a 75-inch on the wall, and then I got a TV to the right of it, right to the right side, so I can go bang, 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 2 TV setup. And I'm even questioning if I want to go third TV on the left side and go bang, 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 and just get really into it. I don't know. I have the option, but it might be too much. I definitely have the 2 TVs, though. And that's super exciting. I can't wait. Boom, boom, boom. There's going to be so much sports on. I just hope that COVID-19 doesn't take that away from me because I will be very upset. The anticipation for late July, it's there. Oh, it's there. I've actually been getting into a little bit of golf lately, more than I have been. I'm a golf fan, but the thing is, I haven't really been able to connect to these random tournaments. I've tuned into these tournaments, but at this time of the year, normally there's baseball and I'm watching the Phillies over golf. Unless it's the majors, then I'm really getting into the major tournaments. But these random little ones, it's hard for me to get into like that. But lately I've been kicking it in a lot of the English Premier League. I'm very raw to soccer, but I have been following the English Premier League lately on NBC and NBC Sports. So, those 2 things have kind of been getting me through it. But late July, it's going to be smack in the face of sports, hopefully. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Bros. Remember, this episode is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they will make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. No risk, no investment. Also, water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Roofs, tree removals. Their information is in the description. So let me know your thoughts. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or any podcasting platform, you can use the review system as a place to comment. You can also leave a rating as well. And on YouTube, you know where the comments section is. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.